Good morning, or afternoon, or night, or whatever it happens to be when you're watching this. Please, won't you, please won't you be my neighbor? Hi, neighbor. I really want to see that Mr. Rogers movie. And I just saw a clip that he did earlier today. What a great guy. What a great guy. So I had it on my list today too that I wanted to pull a tarot card. So I thought I'd do that as part of our spiritual homemaking today, because that can kind of be a fun, inspirational way to tune in to the higher worlds. And I have legit found it to really be related. You don't have to believe, but let's see what happens. Okay. 9 of feathers. It's backwards, but you know, when we're filming. 9 of feathers, 9 of feathers. Not pipes. Here we go. 9 of feathers. The 9 of feathers represents freedom in spirit. Yes. See what I'm talking about? Weren't we just talking about freedom and love? In the moment of death, the old Native American woman's spirit rejoices as it soars into the blue and spacious sky. Let's see if I can do this. Well, here we go. No longer confined to a body which has grown tired and ill, she is free to dance with the birds. In a reading, this card reminds us that we're always free and that it is only our conditioning that makes us believe otherwise. Even in the depths of the most painful disease, there remains a center of being which is at peace. Our pathway through life is a journey toward home, the lodge of the spirit which knows no boundaries or restrictions. In the stillness of meditation, we touch the essence of our being. Simply being the silent watcher within frees us from the everyday anxieties of the physical world. To be that silent watcher, even in death, brings the ultimate freedom of enlightenment. It's related in so many ways to a lot of things that are present in my world. I was just thinking about a friend who died about a year ago. Just this morning was sharing something about that. And also another thing that came up that was really potent in my Love, Liberate, Launch course yesterday was this idea that our safe space is that essence within us that connects to spirit, and remembering that we can always come home at any time to that place. Right now, you can come home to that place and feel at home and feel safe. It's not dependent on exterior, external is the word I'm looking for, external things that are happening, or really the physical world. And so remembering that is such a wonderful tool to have, because this world can be full of anxieties. And if we can remember to tune in and remember that we're free and make choices from that space, then we can create a really beautiful new reality. Potentially, we can. And so that's what I'm here to do. Now, where were we? I need to remember to mark my place. We did the etheric body. We did the astral body. Spirituality. See what I'm saying? It's all connected. The proof of the pudding's in the tasting. Let's taste. The 4th level of the fourfold human being is spirituality. We talked about the astral, which is the passion, the feelings, emotions, etheric, and I'm kind of forgetting what the first one was. The physical. It's just called the physical. Physical aspects of the living space, surroundings. We share that with rocks, minerals, dirt, everything that's you can hold in your hand. The spiritual is the most important level. A certain spirituality lives in every house, determined, for example, by the religious life. A certain tone is established through one's religion and philosophy of life. Important here is the question of how. How does a family live with the elements of culture? How are questions of knowledge, art, the religious life, and human relationships handled? Only with the spirituality in a household is the organism complete. Beyond that, the homemaker is aware of the angels. Beyond that, the homemaker is aware of the angels, her own angel, the angel of her husband, if she has one, those of her children, if she has them. For each person has an angel. Everyone has a guardian angel who guides him through life and brings about his karma. These angels, spiritual beings, enter into the life of a household. This is true also of deceased members of the family. The spirit of a house is just as open for the spiritual world as the etheric is open for the elemental world. The homemakers of old had an instinctive knowledge of the helping elemental beings, of the protecting penates, and the spirituality of a household, which the human being today has lost. I wanted to just insert in there that I had a moment a couple weeks ago where I was just going busily about my business, fixing this house up, getting it ready to do the Airbnb, and remembered who lived here before. And that was Mr. Man, and his daughter lives behind me. She just loves her dad. And she asked me, have you seen the cardinals around? At one point she asked me that. She said, because my mom felt that Dad visited her through the cardinals. And I can't say cardinals have been like the top visitor bird around here for me, but in that moment where I was in that flurry and not even thinking about who built the house and who lived here, who established this, there was some serious cardinal stuff coming about right to the bush, right next to the door. And I was like, oh, sorry, Mr. Man. Mrs. Man is still alive. But I was like, thank you for what you've done here. And I felt like it was appropriate to seek his blessing for what I was doing. It was almost disrespectful to just be like, I own the place. I do what I want. I made it. I didn't make it. Making it into something new, but I didn't make it. So I feel like it's relevant. And I have lived in several houses where there are things that occurred before I lived there, negative things. I often am drawn to fixing up houses where there's been kind of dark energy, and got to a point where I was like, I can't really handle it anymore. It's just too much darkness. Even once I fixed everything up, I couldn't clear the darkness. So I'm grateful for this place because I'm not dealing with a lot of darkness. Thank you, Mr. Man and Mrs. Man. Okay, but since the household organism is a real world, the human being can and must acquire this knowledge again. For these beings live in processes, live in events, and the homemaker stands in the midst of such events. For housework consists of processes of different kinds, and in these jobs, the homemaker continually influences the life spheres of elemental beings. If she experiences the household as an organism, then she has an initial basis for a path of knowledge. She revitalizes her work through thinking about it each day. Processes which had been unconscious before now become visible. She begins to wake up. And in the midst of all that, there's so many other things to think about. So, anyway, just inserting that there. In anthroposophy, we speak of two great spiritual powers that try to disturb our balance, Lucifer and Ahriman. The Luciferic forces lead the human being away from earthly life, detach him from obligation. Ooh, it's very light and airy. I can relate to that. I get pulled to the heavens frequently. I have to remember to come down to earth. Other people may struggle more with the Ahrimanic powers, which force the human being into a form and they bind him fast. Ahriman is the solidifying. Lucifer is the dissolving element. These two powers are everywhere where human qualities are, thus also in the household. Lucifer and Ahriman are continually pulling to the one side or the other. But the human being, or the representative of mankind, develops his ego, his individuality, by keeping these forces in balance. So they're not like evil, per se. They're things that have to be kept in balance, and I can certainly relate to that. Sometimes I can just float away on a cloud, Then other times I feel really stuck in the grind, and I do feel best when I have those things balanced. So this is the primal motif of human existence. A homemaker who wants to be a good mother, a good wife, essentially wants to create a human household. And then I'm just so curious about, like, what if you're a man living alone in your house? What does that mean? You have to carry those forces. You have to take them on too. So I'm a little like frustrated with the gender stuff, but this is tradition. A lot of us are living in the tradition, and it will probably continue that way in a lot of ways. But anyway, to run a household in a human way means to see through Lucifer and Ahriman. Luciferic and Ahrimanic distortions within the household begin with simple structural problems. Everything can disintegrate into chaos or end up in sterile order. My house just disintegrated. I mean, the whole outdoor thing, when I moved my tent, everything disintegrated into chaos, and I had to rebuild it again. And it had to be done. Anyway, balance has to be maintained, a middle ground found. Middle ground. I'm a middle child, so I should be able to do that. Here the question begins to arise in us. An anthroposophical insight is necessary for it. How does absolute order affect the soul? How does chaos? While poverty of the soul comes from the first, an overtaxing of the etheric body is caused by the second. So in the second, the etheric body, that's like your living health body, can overrun yourself. A different example, emptiness and abundance. There are people who crowd their homes with objects. Others prefer an extremely simple decor. In an empty room, memories of past incarnations can rise up. For everywhere, there is a lack of objects. The imagination blooms inwardly. Abundance, on the other hand, can have an inspiring effect. Here, too, it is a matter of two form principles, which have to be brought into balance. Amen. You know, there's that whole thing about... I'll stop there because this video is probably my longest ever. It is the longest one I've made. So I've been called upon at times to help people clear energy, like help, my stuff and all this stuff is overwhelming me. And I get that. I mean, I live in that state from time to time too. Kind of let it all go and then pull it all together. It's kind of an in-breath and an out-breath, and that's probably healthy because I have found it's no way. Like if I'm like, I can't be military about my house. But I'm kind of like glad to hear that that isn't really the healthiest way to do it. I mean, you have to have order, for sure. And I think we need inspiring objects, inspiring colors, but it can also get too full, too crowded. And for me, I work best when things are pretty clean and simple and inspiring. So anyway, see if I can bring this back home. Freedom. We have freedom. We have connection. And we have a striving for balance. So to remember to tune into the spiritual world, to stay on the earth. Rudolf Steiner said one of the main goals was not to like lose yourself in your spirituality, that you needed to be a functioning member of society. So to try to find that, strike that beautiful chord of all the things, not being too bleak or too chaotic, not too flying high in a cloud, nor too grounded and just the material. And to remember that Spirit's always here for us to connect with, to bring us home, and to help inform our daily work. Thank you so much for tuning in to this time with me, and I hope you have a wonderful day, week, month, year, life. Okay, you know what I mean. All right, ciao.